What's going on? Howdy, friends. This is Brandon.
Hi, I'm Jennifer. This is Jennifer.
I didn't know she was going to get it. I was like, I forgot to say it. But anyway, welcome back to Comics Kings. Welcome, if this is your first time here, welcome back to another segment of our Indie Deep Dives where we take a book every month, we swap channels, and we talk about it. So this month, I chose to talk about Crossover, written by Donny Cates, art by Geoff Shaw. It's fantastic, it's convoluted, and it has a lot of working parts that nobody understands except for Donny Cates and Geoff Shaw.
Yeah.
And maybe Chip Zdarsky. But how are you doing, Jen?
So good. I have so many feelings about this book. Like literally, when I've had feelings since like a month or two before this book was like announced. And man, it's a wild ride, and I can't wait to bring all of you along for it.
Right. It's definitely bombastic. It's the art style changes, and that's like the highlight for me is how Geoff Shaw is able to like kind of dilute his art style between panels and really utilize like the different ways to draw comic books in here, because it feels very different from their God Country, which has a huge influence in here. So yeah, because if you're gonna make a big book and image, might as well put your favorite in there, especially the one that was your groundbreaking into the industry. So definitely, and a big shout out to the chat. We got a good turnout so far. Again, if you guys do have a question, comment about Crossover, or anything we're doing, if you just want to ask a random ass question, hit us up, because you know we're always down for our little ADHD moments.
We're all like,
over there. Sometimes like I'll get a bug in my background, but like, it's over there. But we got Excellent and Bravo in here. What's going on? We got Travis in your TM. What's going on to you, sir? Look who's here in the chat doing double duty. Howdy, friends. And I put Jen's description below. She's about to hit 1,000.
You put my description below, just my description. Like, Jennifer is a really nice person, and super fly style, and knows a lot about comics.
Rocks the beanie, but I put her link in the description, and her description in the description. I put queer, no, all caps. All caps. Queer AF, everyone. We got Hillbilly Cox. Yeah, it's Bryce, co-host of Weekly Wrap Up. Yes, sir. We got Uncle Rudy, Brother Rudy. I never know if he wants me to call him Uncle or Brother Rudy. And we got Famous Monsterful. What is going on? And Unruly Simeon. What's going on? We got the stacked little lineup. I know that Fable and the Bad Batch are doing a show over on IGTV. So if you guys want to channel hop, that's completely cool. If you want to catch us on the replay, awesome, because we're breaking down a book that no one understood.
I think Donny Cates, I know that you're watching because I tagged you on Instagram and I told you that I need answers.
Yeah, and I emailed you.
So I'm telling you, I'm not saying that I have the answers, and I'm not saying that I have the link, but I'm going to go full on like Charlie in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Like, there is no Pepe Silver. There's a lot of like, I've got theories, and I can't wait to talk about them.
I hope my biggest theory in this book is not actually true.
That kind of
which we talked about last time in DMs. But yeah, he said he's watching us backing Justin Fable. Yeah, so at least they're in the background. So you're doing it right. We're in the foreground. Look at that.
You know, in this day and age, I think people have multiple devices. So you could have one of us on a phone. You could have one of us on a computer. One of us, if you have a smart TV, you can do that as well. There's so many options. Tablet.
Right. You have some people have like the dual monitor set up for gaming. So you want to have like one over here, just an earworm, something like that.
Exactly.
Whatever you got going on in your tablet, just your shopping list that you always hide from your wife, your partner, or more your comic list. But by the way, before we do get into the books, I always like to do announcements so everyone knows to stay, because everyone leaves when I say time for announcements. Jen, what do you have coming up?
So what I have coming up is, you probably know every Sunday I do a Casually Comics Sunday chat. It's been referred to as Comic Church. But I will say it does get a little bit filthy. It does get a little bit R-rated, so it's unlike any church you've ever been to ever.
Don't bring your kids.
Don't bring your kids. But we do it usually either Sunday morning or Sunday night. My friend Mars and I, who is, like I was just saying backstage, like she's literally the better half of the Sunday show.
Right.
So we do that every Sunday over on my channel. Every Friday, I go live with a group. We do Comic Talk Live over on Will the Beast Fitness channel, which is really cool. Brings in kind of like a cool blend of lots of people together. This week, I know that we're going to do like a new giveaway type thing. So if you follow me on Instagram, I'm usually posting about that. This Sunday, I'm also doing a graphic novel book club with Comic Shop News, and we're doing Descender Volume 1, so we'll be talking about that over there as well. I know that I just recently sat down with Travis from TM Nerdy. That's going to be happening in the next week or two. I think that's it so far that I can remember.
Yes, you're busy, and guys, if you guys watch Weekly Wrap Up, we always put Casually Comics link in the description below, because again, that's like if you really want to go to church, you go over there, or kind of like the warm up. I feel like what Jen, I feel like we're the warm up. You've even called it your warm up, so
yeah. It could even, like I said, we do get a little bit filthy. We do get a little bit R-rated over there. It is early Sunday morning, so if you are a churchgoer, you can watch the show and then maybe pray for us later, because we do get pretty filthy on the show.
Yeah, so. Yeah. And I know Bryce and I do a weekly wrap. We're a little bit cleaner, a little bit less books. We usually take 8 or 10 that we read. It's kind of, I feel like the two shows are very similar, with two great dynamics. So if you always want to get more comic stuff in there, you can't go wrong with either of them. But make sure you guys show up to Jen. She's great content. Help her get to 1,000. Have us playing while you're watching Silvercorn. That is what's up. Nice. And yeah, it is the best. And church is awesome, especially when a Green Arrow book comes out, because like the better half will droop all over it.
Mars will take you to Green Arrow Church. She will talk about it. Yeah.
Right.
Love it.
On my side, I have shows all this week, as I'm kind of recovering from surgery. So I'm doing this. This is my recovery. This is like how I stay sane, because I can't go out. I have an interview with John Romita Jr. tomorrow at 3:00 Eastern time, which is effing huge.
That's so cool.
That's awesome. That's probably the biggest thing I have. And then of course, Tag Team Thursday, I'm going to have my guys Chet and Morbius. We're each going to bring a mini series and talk about it during like kind of the Tag Team Thursday 15-minute slot, just kind of exposing new books, new mini series that people may have forgotten that are still in print. And then Friday's weekly wrap up, and Saturday, I don't know, planning.
Take a day off. Take some time to read. That's the most important thing.
Taking time to read, of course, which I still have a few issues that I've left to read from this week, which I'm going to be doing after this show. So definitely a lot of stuff going on. Jen, I just want to ask, how did you like this book? How did you like it so far? I know you have a lot of thoughts about it, but how'd you like it?
It's funny because I've read this book several times. I read it in single issues, and then once again as like the whole thing. This book is pretty darn interesting. I'll get into it a little bit, but it was completely different than what I thought it was going to be. And I think there were some ups and downs when I was reading it single issue by single issue, because I think that it was like, oh, it's going to be this one thing. And it kind of turned out to be a little bit different. Once again, I will talk about that.
Right.
What about you? What thoughts?
I definitely enjoyed it better in trade. It was much easier to digest, especially because like you look back and a lot of it is like a lot of foreshadowing. I think that's like the one style that Donny and Geoff Shaw really do the best, and they're using like a lot of their tone in the images rather than usually what Donny's doing in like Venom, when he's literally just talking about what he's doing. This had a lot of. I love how this had a lot of like introduction, and even if you missed some of the Easter eggs, like me, I'm not a huge image reader by any means, or classic image reader. I know Jen will be able to fill in the blanks there more. But it's not like so prevalent in the book where you're distracted from it.
Yeah, it doesn't take away from the reading at all.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Going into this book, a lot of people thought this was going to be the DC Image Marvel crossover, which this book was really left up to be a secret at the time, because they wanted you to be unexpected. They wanted you to be picking this up as excited as you were almost when like Spawn #1 was coming out, or Bloodshot when that I think their goal was to bring that same excitement over here, and I think they achieved it. You know, people were lining up each week just for it, and what better dynamic than the people who did read God Country, if there is any book to read prior to this. It is God Country, you don't need to, but at all, but it's a great book anyway.
I agree. So when this book first got announced, I remember like everyone in the like comic Twitterverse was like, "Oh, Donny Cates is doing a crossover event. Like he's writing like this and that for Marvel. He's gonna do a crossover with Image." And so I think there was a lot of hype. And then I remember he posted just like the three dots, like a picture of three dots, and everyone just started like going nuts. And then, you know, just said like crossover or whatever, and everyone was like, "Woo, crossover!" And then we see like this, and we're like, "Oh, this book is literally gonna melt your face off." And I feel like I was like, oh, I was a little bit let down because I'm like, oh, he's just doing a book called Crossover, like that's nothing. So like I feel like I was on the hype train, and then I got brought down, and then I got an advanced copy of the first issue, and
From
boy
Donny?
howdy. No. From a source I will not name. Because, you know, I want to protect that source.
Their privacy,
Yeah. Anyways, I read the first issue, and after being like, man, this is gonna suck, it's not even like a real crossover. And so then I read it, I'm like, okay, this is actually a pretty good setup for a story. The first issue.
Right.
So really quick, because I want to go ahead and mention this. We know a little, you know, some of the people who show up in this book.
Right. They're in the little blurb on the back and like the thank you letter. So if you want to run down the list
of the thank you letter.
Yeah.
Let me go ahead and get to that. You got all the sweet variant covers.
That I did get.
Yeah. So Mad Men, a Tomahawk, Powers. I do want to say I'm giving away some spoilers for this. So you know, if you haven't read it, you know,
it's been in trade enough times, and
yeah.
it's something to look forward to as well.
Astro City, Wicked and Divine, Luther Strode, Battle Pope, Savage Dragon, Chew, Black Hammer, I Hate Fairyland, Incorruptible, Shadowhawk, The Darkness, Witchblade, Ghost, Buzzkill, The Payback's Hit Girl, and a whole bunch of Rob Liefeld stuff. Evangeline, Berserkers, Bloodstrike, Blood Wolf, Brigade, Glory and Profit.
Yeah, and Bueller's here. Bueller is only here for Jennifer.
Yeah.
Love you, Bueller.
Hi, Bueller.
Love you too, brother. Your Portland brother. I love Bueller's stuff, man. I'm always messing with Bueller.
Same. Bueller, seriously, and I'm not just saying this because you're here, Bueller. Like, I would say this behind your back. You're such a great guy.
Yeah, I say it all the time.
Yeah.
In a group chat that he never checks in.
I'm the same way with group chats.
I know.
I still love you all, but I'm miserable at group chats.
Right.
So yeah, this was a pretty fun book that's just basically like, so the premise of this book is there's like one last comic book store standing in like middle of nowhere, Utah. And, you know, this event happened so many years ago where comic book characters crossed over into our universe, and it caused a bunch of stuff. And people hate comic books now, basically.
Yeah.
Hate comic book stores.
They hate heroes. They hate comics. They hate everything with the fandom going forward. And then there is this like one little store that's still standing where the where the hobby is still celebrated. And this guy's coming in to try to flip his books. And the store owner, who's actually really important, he's like, yeah, hell no. And I love like the forwarding of like Donny creates a lot of great questions that even like in today's industry I question. Like why are we reading comic books, and why are we still in this hobby?
Yeah.
That's the whole premise of the first issue. That's the underlying factor. And recently he was in like a Twitter he made this post on Twitter because this guy DM'd him asking like, oh, well, what do I need to know to flip your books for Hulk? And he just blasted the dude. I kind of felt like that was a lot of like hidden in here, like same like some of the same similar elements. Because like we're here to celebrate the hobby because it's a small hobby, but it's definitely still driving like the market forward with like shows and TVs and everything.
For sure. And I think that, as much as I do think that some speculators are, I don't want to be like speculators are ruining the market a little bit, because for me, I'm just like, I like the stories. Like, I like talking about the stories.
Right.
So one of the things that I wanted to bring up, and I didn't even realize it until I had read this again, the first volume after I had read it again. So this is what, page like 3 or 4, where, you know how I said that there was this big event that ends up like crashing another universe into this one.
Correct.
So it happens on January 11th, 2017 is the date that this happens.
Correct.
So do you know what day of the week that is? It's a Wednesday.
I was going to say Wednesday.
Which is New Comic Book Day. Guess what comic book came out on January 11th, 2017?
That's God Country.
God Country came out January 11th, 2017. I didn't even realize that until literally like my third reread of this book. And spoiler alert, I not necessarily like you said that you have to read God Country to get this book. But for instance, so Donny Cates wrote
That's a God Country setting
Country.
right there.
I couldn't find, anyways, I have other things.
I have the version of that. I should have brought that up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
I have
anyways,
the version of that.
Crossover does a little so like this book fully 100%, part of me, it's like it's an image, it's a love letter to Image Comics, but I also think it's like Donny Cates like patting himself on the back, like, you did a good job with God Country, dude. Like him just patting himself.
He's like, yeah, him and Geoff were like, yeah, we did that, didn't we?
We did that, and then
we did that. Which is getting picked up for a movie. It was, I think, the same producer of Sweet Tooth, I think it was, or is it someone else? If I'm mistaken, it's picking up that book, which was in the news like a month ago. I think it got picked up, but read God Country, you guys. It's definitely a great book. It's definitely a must read. If you liked Middle West, I'd say God Country is along the same tone.
Yeah, for sure, especially that like family type dynamic and things
more,
like that.
More like the dissociation from society, I would say. It's like the more underlying factor that I would recommend that for. Because that does speak to a good amount of readers. Anyway, our main little star of the show, her name is Ellipses, and she's a cosplayer. You call her Ellie, so you don't have to keep saying Ellipses. Ellipses is explained to really, it can lead into anything. Right, from a writing perspective, from a person's perspective, that ... you never know what's going to come after, and that's really also what Donny Cates is foreshadowing, is you don't know what this book is going to be about, because we're keeping it a secret, unlike everything else in the universe. So that, I thought that was also really cool, and her backstory we learn, and we don't exactly fully know yet. We're not going to find out until issue 8. Her true backstory. I have my theory. I'm sure Jen has her theory, so I'm sure we're going to clash theories.
Maybe.
Spec alert.
Yeah.
But the whole premise of the first issue is going to the LCS. A comic character named Ava, a little girl, shows up at the store as some dude is trying to flip his books, and no one's happy, so they have to call the cops because
they're scared of her.
They're scared of her, of a little girl. It's like being scared of Violet from The Incredibles or a little dad. I don't know. That's like kind of how I took it.
And just so you know, so like in the main event that happened, that basically like the comic book world crossed over into the real world. Anyone who is from the comic book world has the dots. So they immediately see her with like the dots, and they recognize like, hey, we should be afraid of her.
Right. So everyone like leaves the comic store and they're calling the cops, and the cops show up. This one guy shows and his dad show up. Obviously the kid looks like he's like a bunch of like black eyes and everything. Like he's been beaten, he's been tortured. So his dad instructs him to like throw a little bomb in the store, and that blows it to high hell. Okay, now this is like not only like, it also like touches base on the theme that the comic store is home for a lot of people. Because like a lot of times, and this was even brought up in Detective Comics from Akira Tamaki. In her kind of version of Gotham, it was, this one story was centered around this lady who is a victim of domestic violence, and she said to Huntress, being outside on the streets of Gotham was more safe than being in her actual home. That was very powerful, and to me, the same kind of meaning where like, okay, like the comic book store is a very shining light. to people in our community. It can be a very safe space for mental health. It can be a just like a break from the real world, just being with people that just share your common interest, and it's like that togetherness feeling. So that to me really resonated a lot.
Yeah, for sure. Especially like you said, that feeling of community, and I think that comics are for everybody, right?
Right.
So I think that there's some people who want to make that space for everyone in comic books. There's still like gatekeepers who are like, no, you can't touch my hobby, like stay away from it. But I think that there's something for everyone in comics, and I think that that's where that like feeling of it being a really communal space comes from, for sure.
Right. And also like to be a comic book reader, you also have to be very open to it, because I know like this industry has like a lot of like red flags, kind of like, oh, you're a nerd, or you're a freaking geek, or you're a loser, No. I don't know if you ever seen The Big Bang Theory, but like the depictions of a lot of people in that store were very kind of demeaning to people of our nature.
Spoiler alert, I fucking hate Big Bang Theory for that very reason. I think that all seriously though, like I mean, like there's some people that I've met that are definitely like that. Yeah. Maybe not to the extreme. And that's obviously why, it's a show, is because they're gonna do that. But I feel like the depictions of like geeky people and nerdy people in general, I think that most people, I can't remember is it Hofstadter, whatever?
Yeah, Leonard.
Yeah,
or
Leonard.
Howard or Raj
Howard.
or
I think
Stuart.
it's Howard. So I think that he's maybe the most normal and calm of them, and I think that's more of the nerdy people that I know. I mean, granted.
Oh yeah, it was Leonard, because Howard was like the creepy dude who couldn't get a girl.
That's right, and his mom's always like, Howard.
Yeah. Do it, come on, you.
Yeah. So it's.
I'm not gonna do it here for the sake of everyone's wearing headphones.
Yeah, it's Leonard. Leonard. Yeah. So anyways, Leonard. I feel like he was probably the most honest depiction. Big Bang Theory, I do think that it was cute in some ways, but I can't relate to that show in a lot of ways. So
yeah, I mean, I was like, and even like Stuart, the store owner, and then Captain Sweatpants. I'm just like, come on now, like that's not all of us. There are some like that, but come on, you look at a guy like Morbius, and you're like, oh, you might want to don't think that.
Yeah, I mean. I worked in a comic book shop for a little bit back in Florida, and we definitely had those customers that would come in, and Captain Sweatpants is like a real person in like every single comic book store I've ever been in. There's space for them as well, but if you think that's the only people who go into a comic book store, you'd be wrong.
Right, and that's honestly what this book highlighted, like for me, like or just like when creators take that sense of an LCS, because they still go to theirs, and they're still readers. Like creators are still, they're us in a nutshell, except they're different roles in the industry. Our role is to promote their work. Their role is to give us stuff to promote and read and enjoy.
Yeah.
Nowhere did I say speculate, which technically we're speculating by talking about our theories. But we're not driving a price tag. We're not.
Yeah. It's not like I'm ultimately like, so go read Crossover. And if you really like it, I have a copy of Crossover #1 that you can buy for me. So it's not like.
CGC graded, signed twice, copy limited at only 2,000. No, screw that. But yeah, so there's the character Ryan Lowe. There's a bomb in it. It shoots to high hell, and that's where we leave. And the little girl, she draws a character that we're going to see turn up later, because she's like, oh, this is the man that helped me get out.
And it looks a little bit like, what maybe a basic child drawing of Superman, because there's like a crudely drawn like S.
Yeah, kind of like the Jean Luen Yang kind of Clash of Clans Superman logo. Just like, if anyone knows that looks like, just to get like a better picture. It was like a Crayola. It's like a Tom King drawing too. Yeah, like I said, it's like a Tom King drawing. So that leads us into issue 2, where my theory, which I freaking hate, Jen's gonna kill me for saying this. So Jen, if you want to leave for like 2 seconds, that's completely okay.
You broke my heart already.
I'm Mars today. Shout out to Mars though for referral. And we open up with Brian K. Vaughan, who's dead, and I'm like, wait, does that mean I'm not getting the other 54 issues of Saga? Please tell me that's not the case, because I want that. I'm sorry, but whenever like I see Paper Girls news and all that, I was actually at a con a year, but like when the world shut down, and I asked Eric Stevenson, someone high up in Image, I said, when are we getting Saga? He's like, well, the end of 2020. I'm like, nice. And I'm like, nice. I'm like, so hopefully it's just on COVID setbacks, not Paper Girl setbacks, or we actually don't want to finish Saga setbacks.
Well, I mean, here's the thing, though, is that we've been on a Saga hiatus now for almost 3 years. And it was initially, they're like, okay, well, we're going to go on a 1-year hiatus. Fiona Staples had a baby. She became a mom. So, of course, want to take care of that. And, just taking a break from having done Saga for like the past 6 years straight. Or probably longer, 7 years. And Fiona Staples does draw and color all of it. So it's not like does the inks and then sends it to someone else. So we were promised a year, or we were told a year of a Saga hiatus, and it ended up being on year 3 now. So I don't think it was supposed to initially be like anything 2020 related, but here we are in 2021. No Saga announcements yet.
Yes, I'm like, is this announcement really like gonna kill me? Like, is this really? Yeah. But yeah, and then Brian K. Vaughan made himself super busy doing a lot of TV stuff because he also went down to do Why the Last Man stuff and Paper Girl stuff, which is now in production. So I'm like, so does this mean the best book of all time is going to keep getting pushed back? I mean, and then we see a little blurb like Chip Zdarsky is missing, Scott Snyder, Robert Kirkman is still missing, but we recently did see issue 7. Spoiler alert! It's a lot of Chip Zdarsky in there.
It's all Chip Zdarsky, and
it's all Chip.
I loved that
Stuart.
issue. Yeah, I loved that issue of crossover so much.
I could only imagine.
I can only imagine, and just knowing like all of Chip Zdarsky's other writing. One of my favorite books here by Chip Zdarsky is you can't really see it, but it's Kaptara, which is one of the my favorite sci-fi of all time, and it's only 1 volume. It got canceled, so we'll never get any more. But
yeah, I mean, I'm just like wondering, like about the headshots or like the kind of the reference photos that Zdarsky sent to Phil Hester. I just imagine how like weird they were.
Yeah.
If you've read the issue, you know what's up, because those who've never collaborated before, I could totally see Zdarsky wanting to collab with someone that he's worked with in the past for that, but he went in Phil Hester, which is very interesting. And Phil Hester's very talented, so I get it. But yeah, that was really fun. If you do want just a fun read and you like Chip Zdarsky, you like seeing Chip Zdarsky, he's a visual treat.
Yeah,
as well as a great writer. So it's just, how much Chip Zdarsky do you need in your life? Are you getting enough?
All of it.
Yeah, read crossovers number 7.
Yeah.
And yeah, so you'll get it. Do you want to dive into the second issue for us? Or tackle some of it?
Yeah. So the second issue is when we really start to see, because the local comic book store has been basically like ruined, like it's up in flames. Yeah. So I feel like a lot of this really is, we get to see why that happened, why I can't remember the young man's name, why he went and did that.
Otto and Nick. Hello.
Yep. So then, and I think that what I really loved about this issue, I think that this one was maybe a little bit, not necessarily slower, but there's a lot of conversation between Ellie and Otto, which I really liked. And then just their relationship with Ava and what they're going to do with Ava, because they're like, well, the comic book store was just destroyed. Well, insurance will pay for that, which I'm just like, I would be crying right now. But anyways, but then they're like, well, what are we going to do about Ava? Like, she's basically this like crossover refugee in our world. Is she dangerous? So it was just kind of cute to me, them talking about her like that, because she's obviously a child.
Right.
Yeah.
And then there's like the subplot, kind of like there are 2 separate plots working in this book. It was that side versus Nick's side, where Nick is taken to jail, and it is basically like the guy at the jail is like, oh, I knew this was going to happen. So I have something ready for you. And it's a letter from Ellie's parents saying, here, take this gun with a bullet in there. I think that's a reference to a book. I just don't know where it's from. And so you're supposed to take it and you'll figure out what to do. And the end is followed by ... So that's like the most important part is that ending, getting the ... thing.
Yeah, the ellipses.
The ellipses, which is honestly like the main purpose of the book.
Yeah.
And so he's like, he knows that he understands he's gonna end up meeting up. He doesn't know who it is, but I'm sure but he'll figure that out in the 3rd issue. Spoiler alert, which this is full spoilers, by the way, for everyone. Nothing's getting held back. And we kind of get used to Ava's powers a little bit and her backstory in the camp that she escaped from. Obviously, being Jewish, I'd never like hearing about camps, but this way it was done very methodically. And we saw like her powers. She can like use her eyes. They turn purple. When they turn purple, they're able to like to disintegrate, like a rat, for example, which it did. I guess she feels that way whenever she's like nervous or she feels like uncomfortable. I don't know if she has like full control of her powers at this point, or she's
probably not.
I would say no, she doesn't. But it's almost like, yeah, she's sweet, but she is dangerous, right? Aren't we all? To some degree, you know.
That was
like
deep.
you never know, which I always like those underlying factors. Is like because the way he set it up, he's like, it was like she's such a sweet little girl, and we just see her like disintegrate with a rat disintegrated. Her eyes are all purple. So it's like, is she sweet or are we all just dangerous? Right? Because we all have like kind of like those two sides, right? Almost like that nature nurture kind of thing.
And I think too, you know, as the reader, we're still, I think in the 2nd issue, we're still trying to figure out like who's the good guy or who's the bad guy or who we're trying to root for. So once again, just seeing a young girl who's like a refugee, but then it's like, is she dangerous or is she not? And then it's you see that and you're like, okay, well, you know, maybe there's good reason why we're hesitant to say that she's innocent.
Right. And again, we get the ... leading us into the 3rd issue, where we get a little bit more backstory as to Ellie's situation and her escaping. And she's able to like kind of crack through the barrier, leading her into what is today. And we know from the oh, what's up, Steven? How are you doing? And we know from issue 2, she lived at the comic store because she knew where else to go. We kind of find that footnoted here because she's also looking for her parents, same as Ava, so they share a bond that way. Ava and Ellie are going on this adventure to reunify Ava with her parents, but also Ellie wants to figure out what she's doing as a person.
Yeah.
They have to like put paint on her, like cosplay paint, so like she's able to like blend in with society. And then Nick is also going on that journey. They're trying to get to the dome, where everything like kind of happened, where everything is contained. Because the heroes set that up so they could protect themselves from the rest of the world. They self-contain themselves. It's almost like if someone got COVID, they put themselves into quarantine. That's kind of like the best example for people to understand it. Just to show like how they were making enough to keep everyone else safe, not the world trying to, you know, it was like that kind of a quarantine, self-provided quarantine.
Yeah.
That's the best word. There we go. So obviously like Ellie sees the dude who blew up the store. She saw Nick, and so she like punched him in the face, and then they team up due to this big robot coming down to destroy the car that they were using, and that is a robot. I don't know from which Image book it's from, but it's from one of them.
I think. Oh my goodness, I can't. I should know this. Is it in the back in that thank you letter?
It should be. It's I see. This is the part where like my knowledge is very limited because I think it's one of the Liefeld characters. It could be one of the Liefeld characters, but don't double.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then we see this Doctor Strange looking dude again. I don't know from what Image book. Show the panel. Show the panel from where it's from. It's this guy right here. That's like my ring light. It's getting involved, but I don't know where he's from. Sorry, chat, but but there's that, and then this Doctor Strange looking dude. That's what he called himself. And they take them back to the mansion where we figure out who helped her come back, and that is the Madman, which I do know that one.
Yeah.
We all know Madman because that's iconic by Michael Allred.
You know, it's so funny because I remember like I feel like the intrigue with this book, single issue by single issue, was also the little hints that Donny Cates was dropping, or that because I think Donny Cates had dropped something and was like, you need to get issue 3 or else you might go mad. And I think that was even like the tagline for Diamond, the Diamond solicitation for issue 3. And so I'm like, oh, like what's going to happen? And then it was funny that it's like literally madman.
Yeah, we all went mad, and then you can see how like this S that was scribbled in the beginning
It's
was
actually
actually like an exclamation point,
yeah,
lightning bolt.
yeah.
So it's like totally like a little kid would draw it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next cover, chapter 4, is like the homage to Giant Size X-Men #1.
Yep.
And if you guys know, the running joke on this channel is hashtag Make Ryan Read X-Men, which is the Hall of Fame, Hall of Shame co-host. Make Ryan read X-Men because he refuses to.
You know, it's funny because I feel like I have the same issue with Mars. Mars is
right.
like, she's never read X-Men. I mean, she's like read a little bit, and I keep trying to get her to read X-Men. In fact, today she even posted on her Instagram story like, hey, like I need reading recommendations.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, X-Men.
Yeah, and she was like, well, I'm trying, guys.
Mm-hmm.
If Mars is in the chat, I don't think she is, but if she does show up today, Mars, is like you're like starring of the show.
Yeah, right. Here, she's here in spirit.
Right. I know Mars is watching this. I know it. I know it.
Mars, I love you.
Yeah, Mars. I'm like your biggest fan.
I'm her biggest fan.
Oh. Let's be real. Between us all, it's Sheena.
That is true. Which I don't even know if I said hello to Sheena. Sheena, I love you.
She is here. Okay. Sheena's always here.
Okay. So the next issue goes a little bit into like, hey, like what's our plan? What are we gonna go and do? So all of them. And basically what's going on is that let me go ahead and see if I can they're hanging out with the paybacks, and then they there's all of this stuff going on. So like trying to figure out what to do. What's the plan? And then they do go to the ministry compound of the villains, I guess, of the story.
Right.
And then the group ends up going to the prison where everyone is locked up. And I feel like these couple of pages, and let me go ahead and I'm going to show this one, like where Madman is jumping around. We get to see so many cool. I feel like this is the issue that has all of the little like Easter eggs and things like that. Like there's some panels where you get to see like just some other classic characters. I think this issue was probably the funnest of them all. And then at the end, we get to see this guy, Valifax, the sword from God Country.
And that's what they're using to like really get into the building. Mm-hmm. And that's like their secret weapon.
Yeah.
That's what Ellie is supposed to use. So in the next issue, we do kind of get that little footnote as to what the Valifax is for those folks who didn't read God Country, which is why like I'm saying if there's something important in this book that they want you to know, they're going to tell you about it.
Yeah.
Because they understand there are a lot of Image books. It is much easier for someone to follow every single Marvel and DC book than it is to follow every single Image book. They know that simply because of the way, I guess, pop culture is, and just like you're able to follow, they're able to follow like big two characters. Like if you're a Batman fan, right? You're able to list all these crazy Batman stories, all these different depictions of Batman, all of their villains, but for Image, it usually takes you a good 6 issues for you to really get attached to like the characters.
Yeah. What I would say is that like I think like ultimately sometimes indies are easier to get into, because if you wanted to read a book like Crossover, or let me just go ahead and say, if you want to read a book like Saga, you don't need to read 60 years of backstory to understand like where we're at right now. You don't need to read a whole bunch of different and understand all the timelines and this one's this one, this one's that. So I think that like indies are easier to get into that way. But to your point, I think that those like mainstream characters like Batman and Superman and Spider-Man. Even though I have no clue what the fuck is going on with Spider-Man.
Oh
but
yeah, backstage.
yeah.
I'll tell you. I got you
Okay.
backstage. It sucks, but I'll
Yeah.
tell you.
So spoiler alert. On this past week, a new Spider-Man book came out, and it's like Sinister War, and I'm just like, this could be any Spider-Man book. I couldn't even care less about it, anyways. So I think that if someone was a new reader and they're like, I want to get into Spider-Man, what should I read?
Ultimate Spider-Man, 100%.
So I feel like you could be like, well, in order to know Spider-Man, you really need to read this volume and this volume and this person and this person. So like, for instance, Daredevil, if someone was like, I want to get into Daredevil, you might be like, well, you need to read this. Oh, by the way, Chip Zdarsky is writing the current Daredevil, and it's really good. You should probably read that too. It's only on issue 30 something. Whereas like with an indie title or image title, it's like, okay, here's this one volume.
Right. Yeah, for indies, it's literally like, here's a $10 graphic novel, or $20, depends on who's writing it.
Yeah, because Crossover is a $20 book.
Yeah, because Mr. Donny Cates reconstructed his deal with Image, so you know there's more Donny at Image. Especially now he's like doing King Spawn.
Yeah.
Of course he's gonna like get that nice paycheck.
Of
course he's getting that nice paycheck working with the Todd Father, but yeah, this book was $20, but it's still like cheaper to get into than any like Spider-Man reading that you would want to do in your hand, let alone like making sure it's in print. I would say you go to your LCS, you have a better chance at finding an Image book in print than you are with a Spider-Man book in print. So to your point, like there are definitely like advantages and disadvantages in how you want to get into it. I just think like whenever someone goes into an LCS, like, what is your Spider-Man book? Or I want to read a comic book. Spider-Man's my favorite character, because that's one they know, probably from their childhood. They're not going to say, give me God Country.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not going to say, give me Saga with all the tits and ass and everything in there.
I love Saga.
Yeah, I love Saga too. Saga's like the #1 book I would recommend to like an depending on, to just someone like my age, or even someone like a little 2 years younger, 18 and up, maybe.
Yeah, I would say it's a little bit more mature. Like granted, I know that when I was like 12, 13, I was visiting websites that I probably shouldn't have been at the time. So I know that like when I was that age, I was into way worse shit. And now as an adult,
it's not something you want to promote to like a 12 or 13 just because you did it doesn't mean it's okay for everyone else.
Let me be a cautionary tale for you young folks.
Yeah, yeah. Like I don't know, I would say like if you're able to digest Game of Thrones, you can read Saga.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I would say that like Game of Thrones is almost like a step up from Saga. Like Saga is light compared to
I don't know,
if
you made it through 50 Shades of Grey, maybe I'd say read Saga.
I still think that Saga is less violent and less
it's
sexual.
Not even the violent, it's just like the nudity is like could be a little jarring for younger kids.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I think that the nudity in Game of Thrones is less healthy than the nudity in Saga.
Right.
And it's a family story. I mean, I guess they're all family stories, but
this one's a little too family story. This is like family sex tape story. Yeah. But also there are like a lot of themes. Like there's that whole drug arc that is like
that is
to like a 12, 13-year-old, I wouldn't exactly put that like kind of knowledge on them at that age. Yeah. Or expose them to like that behavior and be like, ooh, like I get to see whatever I want. Hi Jen, bye Jen. Jen's internet sometimes dies, but Don Gomez says he got his friend in comics with Marvel Unlimited. That's a great way. And wow, I could say so many things about Jen right now, but I'm just not going to. But
sorry about that. I think that my Wi-Fi just like kicks out. So I'm back.
Yeah, and we missed you terribly.
I know. I was gone for like 20 seconds. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I didn't know what to do with the spotlight. I'm just like not used to it.
I did see Dom's comment, and I really appreciated that because for someone, yes, looking to maybe get into comics, that you can't out of print comics, I would 100% recommend Marvel Unlimited, especially for right now. I'm trying to go back and reread Secret Wars by Marvel, and I have not been able to find that like a
OG?
print of that.
Secret Wars or the Hickman?
No, from 84.
Oh, from Shooter, Beatty, and Zach. Yeah.
Yep. So I've been trying to go back and reread that, and like I can't find it anywhere. So definitely reading that on Marvel Unlimited.
Right.
And they're
Yeah.
pretty good at curating stuff too. So like, if you want like a good character profile, like they do have it. Maybe well, I'm gonna get your recommendations on Spidey, but.
Well, did you want me to explain like the current Spidey series and like what they're doing, or do you want me to like say screw it? This is what you should read.
Just tell me what I should read. Yeah.
Did to get caught up on the new one, or did you? Because I wouldn't recommend the series in a whole.
Oh no, I would just say like if someone was like, okay, I want to get into Spider-Man. Like, what are the like two things that I should read to be into
I would
Spider-Man?
say just jump in Ultimate Spider-Man.
Okay.
And it tells you everything you need to know. Ultimate Spider-Man is really like the best Spider-Man book, or you can read the John Michael series.
Okay.
I don't know how to pronounce his name. I'm so sorry.
No worries.
JMS. But this new series is beyond garbage. I'm just sticking with it because I bought the last 70 issues of it, and it's going to be ending in like 14 plus 25 other tie-ins. So I'm not much more left.
Oh, goodness. I'm also seeing Spider-Man the Other. The Spider-Man the Other. I'm like mentally writing that down. You may have to DM me and let me know that one.
I'll remember it. But the Valifax, it's a sword that is almost like on a Heimdall operating level. From God Country.
God Country.
So that's like kind of like the foreshadowing. This is a sword that sees everything and it can teleport you. So like I said, it's like a Heimdall. It's like a working Heimdall.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really all you need to know about God Country, that the sword is being used in there. Also, Donny just wants you to read God Country. He really does.
Yeah. Like I said, he's really just like patting himself on the back, like literally. Want more? Pick up, like literally there's an advertisement for God Country in this. Like, go pick up God Country. Very subtle, right. Donny. I see you.
Right. So we continue the story and we're in like kind of like the prison area where all of like the powered folks, like over the past years we saw them like being kind of tested on like in the camp so they can like measure their powers.
Like doing testing and experimenting on it.
Right. Because in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., what was it? Something requires experimentation. Something. Results require experimentation. Something that they said in Hydra. But Nick Spencer is greater than Slot Spider-Man. I highly disagree. I wouldn't take that with a grain of salt.
I love these hot takes here.
Yeah. I mean, I loved Ultimate Spider-Man. Dom says he was able to start from AF 15, work his way up, but that's probably that's a lot of issues.
Yeah, I think that like if you're one of those people that's like, I really need to like dive in and I need to be a completionist, I need to go ahead and read it from the beginning. Marvel Unlimited is like 1,000% the way to go.
All right.
But
I don't know. That's not for me. Yeah, but to continue with the plot, we see them like getting experimented on, and basically they run in and they save the day. They make a big explosion. They get in there. And they're able to use the sword to kind of like pave the way for like the heroes to get out of the dome. So now they're in the public, I guess. And we just see shit's hitting the fan right now. Yeah. And then Elle gets the sword, and she's like able to to see like everything that's like kind of happened with the two worlds kind of colliding, because that's like what the Valifax can do. Is because it can see into other dimensions. It can like combine them as well. Yeah. So that's how we're starting it. And then we get a lot of Easter eggs in here. Mm-hmm. We get like a shit ton of Easter eggs. Language is always a thing. But we're going to see even more. And we see why Nick knows how to use the bullet. Because when Ava is going batshit crazy and her powers are just on overload, Nick knows why that bullet is there and why there's a singular bullet is so we can eliminate Ava from kind of what's going on, but that kind of happens off screen.
Yeah.
Leading us into the last issue where we're already like kind of heartbroken. Comics will break your heart 100%, Bobby. To an extent, they will. To an extent. You should change it to Mars will break your heart, because
Mars will break my heart every week. Every week she breaks my heart.
X-Men slander. Can you believe that? It's almost Ryan. Almost like Ryan. I'll never pick up an X-Men book. They're all trash. I'm like,
my heart.
I know, right? I'm like, how can you take a look at this little sexy lady and say it's trash? It's Polaris.
I figured. So yeah, with the last issue with chapter 6, I feel like this we get so many like just really fun, like the fun characters in here. I think my favorite moment, spoiler alert, I mean, because we get this really cool splash page where we see a lot going on, but then we get to see, I think Hit Girl showing up was probably one of my favorite moments. Um,
Oh yeah, I wonder who created Hit Girl.
yeah. Mark Millar, right? John
And
Romita Jr.
yeah,
Yeah.
kind of plug. You're like plugging everything.
Oh,
You're plugging Secret
good
Wars
segue.
earlier. You're
Mm-hmm.
plugging Secret Wars earlier, which I did an interview with John Beatty and Bob Layton, they
You're
were both on the
welcome.
show. And
And I
Jen,
think,
you're
yep,
and then John Romita Jr. now. Jen, you're all over the place.
I am. I'm here.
You're great, but continue.
So yeah, I really, this reread, um, I don't necessarily want to like spoil anything for anyone. I mean, we kind of already did, but through this whole thing, we see some characters die. Maybe, I don't know, do we?
Are they dead? Is like what's real? That's like also what this book is about. Is like, are they real? Like, do they
Exactly.
die?
And then, I
Or
mean, I think that there's the last page is really where we get this kind of like, I guess, big spoiler. I think that we already talked about it a little bit. But man, I feel like if you read these first issues and you do not want to pick up issue number 7, issue number 8, I don't know what to tell you, man.
right. We see, well, to talk about the ending, Ellie is able to like kind of wash the same painting she had on previously, and she's like, her parents are not from Denver, so that's like kind of also because she can't really necessarily die. My theory is that her family is from Stillwater.
Oh, that's pretty interesting.
That way, like, Donny can kind of keep in relevance with another book that has been trending.
Yeah.
Um, that's my theory to how it ends.
Yeah. That's pretty interesting. I think that one of my biggest hot takes whenever this was coming out, if you remember, and I will scream about this until I'm blue in the face. If you remember, there was a little book that came out in the middle of this called Solid Blood. Was it Solid Blood 17 or 18? And everyone was like, oh, it's this book that Image was publishing way back when, and we found a whole bunch of copies in a warehouse. Let's go ahead and send this random ass issue 18 out to comic book shops. Solid Blood 17 or 18, whichever issue it was, is a crossover. Like, I am so convinced that it's going to be a comic book featured in this book. Did you read Solid Blood?
No.
Okay. So literally whatever issue came out was the only issue that there's ever been. There has never been a Solid Blood 1 through 16. It also features what looks like Spawn-like characters and like Walking Dead, like zombie characters and things like that. And if you take a look, it was a made-up, real fake book. I 100% am convinced it's going to tie into crossover.
That's like 5 oxymorons in one sentence.
Made up, real fake book. Yeah, it 100% is. And I wish that I had it in front of me. I went searching for it and couldn't find it. But if you take a look at the one of the first pages where it shows you everyone who works at Image, so it shows you all of these people who work at Image. Donny Cates is the VP of marketing in Solid Blood 17.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. And in the back where they have like a whole bunch of like questions from readers, they're all fake and they're all talking about fake universes. And what's the Mandela effect? And like, did we just like flip universes and things like that? So 100%, if you liked crossover, read God Country, pick God Country up if there's only one volume, and pick up, if you can, a copy of Solid Blood 17 or 18, whatever issue it was.
I will definitely be on the lookout for that.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know that. I'm only like going off kind of what we know in Image today, because I think that they are combined. What this book is doing is it's combining stuff that is so out of pocket you wouldn't think about. So the fact that you're getting like your Mad Men, your classic Image books, your Hit Girl. Excuse me, I'm like trying not to hiccup.
That's okay.
Hit Girl, hiccup, same thing really. And I think I have a strong feeling we're gonna be in Stillwater. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that's a good theory.
Those powers, especially because Chip Zdarsky's teased to have more of a role than he already did. I could kind of see that foreshadowing, but it wouldn't surprise me if it's like if she's like an Invincible type character from where are they? Oh my gosh, why am I blanking on that? Why am I blanking? I don't know why I'm blanking on that. I'm like reading the book right now, where they're really from, but it's gonna come to me as soon as I end the show. But
as soon as
it's gonna end the show. It's not Krypton, but it's something like Krypton. It's God damn it, where's Nolan Grayson from? Somebody in the chat, help me out, please. Go to Google something.
Where's what?
Nolan Grayson from. There's Mark Grayson, Nolan Grayson. They're from not Planet Krypton. From I don't know. That could also
help us out.
Come on, chat. There's 7 of you guys. What do we pay you for?
Viltrum.
Thank you there, Viltrumite. Thank you. Jen beat you guys on your tablet. Come on now. It's like 50 push-ups. Like they got it. But yeah, that's crossover. I definitely would recommend it, even if you don't have a working knowledge of some of these characters like I do. Or like because I don't have a lot of working knowledge of some of these characters. And I know there are a lot of people out there, especially because the community is full of a lot more modern readers today, who are a lot more modern indie readers. I can totally see why you could be turned off by this, but I would totally recommend it, because I wouldn't. I'm never a fan of disregarding a book because you feel intimidated by it. Because look at how people started reading back in the day. They just picked up the damn book. And you can always ask your friends. This community is very vast.
Yeah, and I think the reason why, I brought up earlier that there are people who want to like be the gatekeepers of the community and be like, well, this is my protected space. This is where I feel safe. Like, I don't want fake nerds coming in here. So I think the reason why people feel intimidated is because, sometimes they get overwhelmed, or sometimes they're like, I don't want to be perceived as a fake nerd, so I have to consume everything before I'm considered a lover of the medium, which isn't true. You could pick up one comic book and say that you're in love with comic books,
Right. And even if it's not like a big 2 comic book, you read comic books, you're part of the fam.
Yep.
Belgium, bro, you're like 5 minutes late. At least you got the effort. But that's really it. Is a lot, like you said, if you read one comic book and you love it, you can call yourself a lover of comics.
Yeah. You don't need to read every single thing, and you can hate, like, so I bring this up a lot, like, because my channel is named after a Jack Kirby quote, and I will be the first person to tell you I hate Fantastic Four. I hate original Fantastic Four so much. I think that your opinion differs very much on that, but you don't have to love all of it. You can love some of it and you're still a fan of the medium.
Right. You're pushing it with that one.
I know.
Jen, I don't want to know that about you.
Yep. I do not like original Fantastic Four. I've very rarely, like, even when Fantastic Four truly, whenever they show up in like other crossovers, like, I can't stand them. They're like my least favorite characters out of all of it. So sorry. Follow my channel for more hot takes that piss you off every week.
You know what? I think I'm learning something new about you each week. That's for sure. But yeah, the only thing that I don't like is when you call yourself a comic book lover, but you're really just a speculator to to protect your investment.
Yeah.
Like, what was it? I was watching a show. I'm not gonna name these people because they are friends of friends in the community. So I'm not gonna put anyone on blast here, especially not when Jen's here. Because I don't want her to be linked to that. But they were talking about like graded comics was wrong. It came out like if you grade your comics, you're a speculator. No, but because I know a lot of people that grade their comics, there's nothing wrong with that. But as long as you're able to tell me what goes on in the book and we're able to talk about it rather than the price tag that it's going for, like the price tag is really what you make of it when it comes to comics. So if you're happy with saying I bought a book for $500 and it's worth $500 because I can sell it right now for $500, great. But if you can't tell me what's involved in it, then to me that's not a member of the hobby.
Yeah. I see where that statement is coming from. Like I do kind of get it. Like I think that if you're grading books, I feel like if you grade books, then usually your intention is either to sell them or to make it more valuable in the end. But I think that it's also a way to preserve a book that you really, really love. But for me, I love books because I've read them.
Right.
And I, as much as I love comic books, I could talk about graded comic books a lot. At the end of the day, I have a handful. I have less than 10 graded books because I think that if you do, I don't want to say if you grade a book, you are a speculator, maybe a little bit, because you know that one has ultimately, sorry, this is a whole nother conversation. Okay,
right.
Please bring it out. But I do think that we understand that we do get books graded that are number ones or that are maybe first appearances, because we do understand that those books are more valuable in the end. Now, does that necessarily make you a speculator? Probably not. It just means that you understand that book is more valuable for whatever reason, whether it's a personal reason or a reason that you want to sell it.
Right. But this person in particular on the show was holding this first appearance of Thanos in a 9.8. Couldn't tell you anything about the book. Right. And he's like, well, I own this book. I know what it's worth. Yeah. I'm technically a collector because I collect 9.8s. Okay, asshole, but you're not doing it for the right reason. Like that's just the way that I see it personally. If you're not, especially it's a classic Jim Starlin book, like to me that's not helping the industry, and I think that's like kind of what's driving today's modern market. Yeah. Right. Except at the end of the day, right? Look who's posting all the spoilers, like the Loki show or even X Factor number 10. I guarantee you, everyone who spoiled that book did not even read the previous 9 issues.
Yeah. Yep.
Because they don't care. People posted the Nightwing 81 spoilers.
Yeah.
Don't care. Because they're the ones who are buying 10 copies of each of these books and screwing over people who are not on Instagram, like who just go to their shop for their pull, who are just read, right? Because think about it. We're not the only ones reading comics on Instagram and YouTube. We're just a smaller niche. So that's just screwing over the modern reader. Or like the everyday reader, your average reader. Like your average Joe's your average reader. So I think Crossover took a little bit of jabs at that, and I liked it.
Yeah, for sure.
I have some graded books. Most of them are gifts from a friend. 4 of them are signed, which I only paid for one of them because it was a book that was like my favorite X-Men issue, and it was Chris Claremont. I would have signed it. I submitted it. Because don't tell every panel, but.
Did I hear a puppy in your background?
Oh, you did hear a puppy. I told him to be quiet, but he decided to shake his little head.
That's okay. I've got a kitten right here who's on my lap, and he's just giving me a whole bunch of kisses right here. And so sometimes he likes to nibble, so he's nibbling as well. Yeah.
Yeah, my dog featured in my Instagram live today because I was bored and had nothing to do.
Aw. Well, you got to take time to rest. That's okay.
I hate it. Yeah, for those who don't know, I just had hip surgery. Great.
And for those of you who don't know, I want to let the record be set straight that Brandon and I had talked about doing the show. Like we talked about going live every month, and we decided on today. And then Brandon was like, yeah, I'm getting hip surgery, today. And I'm like, dude, if you need to not do the show, like
It was yeah, I had the surgery yesterday.
yeah, you had the surgery yesterday, and I'm like, dude, if you need to not do the show, like, and you're like, no, I'm good. So I want to let the record be straight that I tried to talk him out of this.
It's
But
right.
you're a champ. You're a champ.
I just didn't tell JR was having the surgery because I'm like, great, now I don't have to take a day off.
Oh my god, take a day off.
And my dog is a box for those of you guys who are asking in the chat. I go back to work on Thursday. I guess I've really just been like humbled by the experiences that have come my way in this little year that I've been in the year and a half been in the community. Less than a year I've been on YouTube, so I guess it's a very humbling experience knowing that. You have people that come, yo, look who's here. Yo, the Fantastic Girl. Yo, my favorite Quake fan is here. What's up, Gabby?
Hi, Gabby.
My parents letting all kinds of bugs in.
Oh.
Because they left the door open. But yeah. I'm a little late. So if you guys do catch the replay, make sure you give the thumbs up. And our next indie deep dive will be on Jen's channel, which she picks the book next time. Do you have a book in mind yet?
I have a couple of books in mind, but I want to wait because I feel like there are a couple of series that like just ended that I think are going to come out in trade that I think that I want to wait for. You
did hear a Quake fan. I mean, I'm more of a Chloe Bennett fan, but I guess we're going with that. Chloe Bennett is a queen, but I love Quake and Secret Warrior. She was fantastic. Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in and having these conversations with us. I always love talking about the books, which is why we're doing this show. For those of us who kind of like just reading and having someone to talk about it. So definitely head over to Jen's channel for her Sunday Casually Comics and Will the Beast's channel. I don't have that in the description, but I could add it for Comic Talk, which takes place an hour after Weekly Wrap Up.
Yeah, so you can just go right on in.
Right. Chloe's Quake. Yes, she is a Queen Quake. But yeah, that's the show, you guys. Thank you so much. And if you guys are catching the replay, you did it right by hanging out with us for this long.
Thank you for hanging out.
This was Crossover, and make sure you guys go pick it up if you haven't already.
Yeah, and God Country and Solid Blood.
And everything, yes. And everything we told you. I know I'm going to go explain Spider-Man.